1 year in the podcast, 11 years this year in building, and 18 years in total in operation.
I love talking about what I think is one of our greatest strengths, and that's the maturity we have in this space.
If you can take an individual and you can empower them down a particular path, they're going to take ownership of it. They're going to defend you. They're going to be loyal to you. They're going to want to be a part of what you have, especially if you're giving people the opportunity to develop, to grow. Hey Lisa.
Hi David, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Fantastic.
Guess where we are?
The Philippines.
Oh, we are? Yes, we are. Back in the office. Fantastic to be here.
It is really good. It's
Really-
like coming home to the second family.
I know, right? And Bacolod's such a unique place. And there's some special things happening today.
There are.
Yes, we're celebrating our first year anniversary.
Yes.
Happy anniversary of our podcast.
Happy anniversary. We got the cake. We need to get some candles,
Yes.
celebrate and
That's
share.
right. Yes, the sharing part's the best part. We're celebrating celebration. So 1 year in the podcast, 11 years this year in building,
Yes.
and 18 years in total in operation.
18 years. It's funny. So many people actually ask us around our journey, and
Yes.
I think it's a great opportunity for us to share a little bit. I know that there's been a lot of public publications around our 11-year milestone earlier this year, so perhaps you can dive into behind the scenes. 18 years ago.
18 years, 6 different countries that we've operated out of. Thousands of people. And the journey leading us to the Philippines has been an interesting one. The journey around why we're here, specifically in Bacolod, has been an interesting one. I remember back many years ago, our first employee was in Manila. Our second employee, Karen, who runs this whole amazing thing, was from Bacolod. The third employee was in Manila. The first 6 months when we were in operation, both of the team members were robbed when they were trying to go to the grocery store. You don't get that type of thing here. You do, but not with the same level of frequency. Manila's just different. Manila is the Manilaized version of the Philippines. This is Bacolod is the Bacolod version of the Philippines. Two very different places, and one of the reasons why I established shop here is because of the people and how unique they are. I've told this story many times when I was, and then we'll get onto the podcast, right? I've told this story many times where I've dropped my phone 2 times when I'm here, 2 times in a taxi. The first time I was at a mall, it would have been about 10 years ago now. Oh, no, it was longer than that. It would have been about 13 years ago. I was at a mall, and as I hopped out of the taxi, I heard the kaplunk of my phone dropping on the ground in the taxi. And the taxi drove off, just took off straight away. And I thought, no, I've lost my phone. So I started running after the taxi, and there weren't a lot of people like me here. And I don't mean business owners. I mean, like I'm a tall guy in comparison to a lot of people. And I'm running down the street after this taxi, and all these cars are, trying to move around me and all that sort of stuff. And security came and grabbed me, and they're like, "Is everything okay?" But they couldn't really say it in English. And I said, "My phone, I've lost my phone." So they're on walkie-talkies, and they're trying to locate this taxi driver. And they said, "Have you got your ticket, which has the taxi number on it?" I was like, "No, I have no idea." And so as they're on the walkie-talkie, this guy walks around the corner, and he's holding my phone. It's the taxi driver. He realized that I'd left my phone, and he drove around the block. He parked his taxi in a car park, not at the taxi rank, and he came back to give me my phone. Mm-hmm. Now, I've unfortunately dropped my phone 2 times when I've been here. The other time was last year, and exactly the same thing happened. The taxi driver, except this time I got my phone back, not exactly the same thing. I heard the kaplunk. It didn't register. I went to walk inside, and he was winding down the window, and he said, Sir, your phone." No offense against Manila. The taxi drivers don't turn on their meters, let alone the same level of honesty that I feel they have here. So that's a bit of a story as to our 18-year journey. Actually, almost 19 years this year, I believe. Look at LinkedIn; it'll have our age, and it's been a big journey for us to get to where we are.
It definitely has a different feel here. I've only personally ever stopped in Manila at the airport for a few hours while I transit to make my way here. And definitely has a different feel. This sort of feels like what I'm assuming Philippines were originally. It feels quite untouched, quite natural. The people are very, very friendly, and having those type of stories, you can certainly have a different perception.
Yes, and that's the reason why. That's the reason why Bacolod is called the City of Smiles. It lives up to its name, and it's one of the only places I've been in the world where I can go down. I live in a country town. When I walk down the street in the country town, we all say hello. Like, g'day, how are you? Good morning, all that sort of stuff. You all do that, right? Because it's because you're a country town. I do the same thing here, and people also when I hop into the lift in the hotel that we're staying in, people straight away are like, "Good morning, sir. How are you?" And you don't get that. I've stayed in Manila quite a few times. You just don't get that. I remember going to one of the main malls in Manila, and again, I'm not trying to bag Manila. I'm just highlighting the difference between the city. I went to one of the main malls, and I went into a shop, and I wasn't really dressed up in brands, etc., etc. She looked at me and went, and then ignored me. And I thought, oh, and then I spent a reasonable amount of money on something that I was purchasing, and I had to beg for service. And here, it's just different. It's just different. That's all.
Well, I suppose when you do compare Manila to here, it's because if we look at the BPO industry here in the Philippines, there are a number of players that are within Manila or other locations. And I'm glad you've referenced what you have, because it will give us some context around why here,
Yes.
and how we're able to leverage what is naturally here in providing what we do to our clients.
And I'm aware that there are other BPOs that are emerging in Bacolod that come from Manila, and I'm also hearing as well some from other businesses that are here, that operate here, that there's a bit of Manilarizing happening, if you call it that, and I see that as an unfortunate thing, to be honest, because again, there's a reason we chose Bacolod, and there's a reason why the people here are so great. We use the strength of those things, like the integrity, the integrity of the people, the honesty of the people, the general resilience of the people, like
and the loyalty.
The backbone of the city is built on resilience. The backbone of Manila is built on something different. So there's a distinct difference between the two, and I think anyone coming in and trying to change the core culture of a city is, in my opinion, I mean, I get it, it's all corporate and lots of stuff, and that's what you're supposed to do. But I think it's unfortunate if you do that in this instance. The way that I've always seen, like when we set up this business, we could have come in and forced everyone to be like Australians, and forced everyone to be like our market. The way that I've always operated, I go into, I observe, and I assimilate.
And utilise this as a strength.
You utilise what the locals are great at as a strength, rather than trying to force them to be like you want them to be. You take that, you adapt it, you find those strengths, and then you use it. You use those strengths.
Because I suppose if we think about it, if you're using people's strengths within business, we're able to utilise that within the business and create a uniformed approach, because we're not trying to change them. I think that if we talk about trying to change people's natural personality types, it's going to lead us down a path of resistance.
And that's a good point, because our approach is a systematized approach. So you get VA1, you get VA20. It's the same approach each time. But what we've done is we're acknowledging and we're appreciating the location that we're in, and we've applied a business proven model around how we can make it work. So it's a win-win in a lot of ways, and then that's how, under the entire concept of empowerment, as you know, is big for me. We've spoken about a book club beforehand. I've worked for bad bosses beforehand, and that's the last thing in the world I wanted to have. And if you can take an individual and you can empower them down a particular path, they're going to take ownership of it, and they're going to defend you. They're going to be loyal to you. They're going to want to be a part of what you have, especially if you're giving people the opportunity to develop, to grow, to a normal job. I remember my daughter Tilly wanted to get a leadership role, so she's put in a submission for a leadership role, and it was what areas of leadership do you want to develop over the next 12 months? And then Tilly put down one of my key areas of growth is being more assertive. And I said, what do you mean when you say being more assertive? And she said, well, I need to be in a position where I can tell people what to do. And I said, and how does that work? And she said, well, I've got to be firm. I've got to say, this is what you are doing, and this is how you're going to do it, and do what I tell you to do. And I was like, where are you getting that from? And she said, oh, well, that's what a leader is. I said, do you ever see mum and dad doing that? I said, have you ever seen us leading that way? And she goes, oh yeah, but you guys are different. And she said, that's not how it normally works. And I was like, really? Isn't that interesting?
That's quite a different perspective.
So again, culturally, we follow a proven process, right? We've been doing this for, like I said, 1 year podcast, 11 years office, 18 years coming on to 19 years of being in operation. Much younger and no doubt more naive than what I am now. Yet we've matured to a place where, again, I believe one of our strengths is the concept of empowerment. One of our strengths is about, rather than going and trying to force someone to change the way that we want to do it, to empower them and to bring them along the journey, show them the method, the system, have them come to you and say, okay, well, this is great, but if we improve this part here for the way that we do it here locally, I think you're going to get this improvement. And to go, let's do that. Let's see what happens. And then to put in measurable KPIs and measurable results, and then to see the improvement or to see that it didn't work. And if it didn't work, that's okay too, because you have to try things. You have to fail forward, as I've spoken about beforehand. It's a big thing for us, is that if something happens and it didn't turn out the way you want, cool, what did we learn? What's the upside? What's the upside? And how is it we can change process? How is it we can do it next time? Rather than, oh, you did that, you made that mistake, smack, smack, smack. No, I mean, why would you do that? Because again, it's about really gaining that empowerment. This wasn't one of our topics, actually.
I know. I was going to say, you're reminding me of book club, The Gap and the Gain, and having those milestone check-ins and reflecting on the journey that was. I remember there was a particular statement in there.
Yeah, exactly. Because in the Gap of the Gain, it discusses, generally people think about all the negative gaps, all the things that didn't happen. I wanted to achieve this year, but I didn't. So, you know what? I'm not good. I'm not a good person. But if you measure what you did achieve and you look forward all the time rather than looking backwards, you start to understand how many gains. You start to understand how good things were. I mean, I had a bulging disc last year, which happened as a byproduct of an injury, and I couldn't feel my right leg. I couldn't feel my right foot. I was told that I just had to get up every day and move a little bit. So I got up. The first time, my first kilometre I walked, it was taking me nearly 19 minutes to walk a kilometre. I took a photo of my watch every day when I was walking, and I watched that progressively come down in time. I got it down to 11 minutes for a kilometre. Actually 11 minutes and 11 seconds. I remember it was 11:11, and I was looking at it and I was like, okay. And I still was experiencing pain. I still couldn't feel completely my right foot. If I looked at that the way that was, I wouldn't have understood that there was an improvement, that there was a gain. And that's how we operate, right? 100%. That's how we operate. And that's us as a business. I can feel my right foot now, I can feel my right leg, and everything's improved. So there's a massive gain, even through all the challenges that occurred. And
you won't be participating in Osball 3 in the opening?
I am not participating in Osball Season 3. Season 2 was the reason why. It was just an accident that occurred. It was not good. And lots of people feel really bad about it.
Well, it's part of the story.
Yes. And that's a good point, actually. Osball Season 3 kicking off this Saturday, which is going to be exciting.
I'm actually really, really excited. And the lead into, I would love to know how many client visits we've done actually. We're welcoming some clients to join us. They're arriving on Saturday, so our client visit will kick off from Sunday. Another exciting part of this visit.
Yeah, it will be exciting. And there have been so many client visits. We were driving to dinner yesterday, Karen and her husband Vic and Eva and myself. And as we're driving along, Eva started talking in her way that she does about, on the right-hand side, you will see this. This is this, blah, 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 blah. And I swear, Eva can do this now with her eyes closed. Like, she just, with so many client visits around so many cool features of the city that a lot of people aren't aware of. It's just really good to it's really good to be in a place where clients can come and experience this amazing city, and the reason why it is the City of Smiles. I think it's cool.
And see it naturally. For anybody that knows me knows that I travel to Bali whenever I get 2.5 seconds to have some downtime.
Yes.
And in my last visit, I went to a place called Sanua, and it was the first time I'd ever been there. And it resembles what we're talking about here for Bali. It was so untouched, no commercialised hospitality and tourism, and it's very much like this. And it'd be a real shame for Bacolod to change in the way that I've seen the other locations I've travelled to in Bali.
Yes. Advice to any businesses in Bacolod: please don't mineralise it.
Yeah, leave it as it is. It's beautiful.
Yes. And use the strengths, engage in the strengths.
Absolutely.
Yes, that sort of did fit in with our first topic.
In a roundabout way.
Yes, the second topic, it's emerging around the work from home thing, and I know, like we do work from office, and there are reasons around and behind that. I was doing 3 Cs this morning just before we did this coffee chat with CEO, where any employee gets to sit down and have a coffee with me and to talk about anything they want to talk about.
Of which, can I say, it's been lovely to see a number of people dressed up in the office. I actually saw somebody this morning in the cafe grabbing a coffee, and he was so excited. He was like, "Oh, I'm seeing David today, 3 Cs." You bring some excitement to their day by opening up your door, and I'd like to think that more CEOs in that position should do that. It's a good opportunity.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. I love the opportunity to be able to talk to people around where they're at and how they're going, their personal situations. Sometimes people bring shopping lists of things that they want to see change. Other times, like I had a person come in this morning and sit there and looked at me and said, "I don't know what we're supposed to do now." And I was like, "Oh, tell me about you."
Get my shopping list, actually.
Yes. Again, I don't know what we're supposed to do now. I was like, "Tell me about you." And then she was telling me she completed a degree in psychology and sociology, I think it's psychology. And then I was like, "Oh, my daughter's in grade 11." And I said, "Let me explain to you how our school structure works in Australia. We're very simple people. You start off in 1 and you finish at 12. And each year you progressively go up 1 number. When you finish 12, that's the end of school, and you can go to college, you can go to university, or you can go to the workforce." And I was saying, "Why did you decide to go down that path?" And she said, "Because I was really interested in people, etc., etc., etc." I said, "Can I ask some advice?" I said, "My daughter's in grade 11. She finishes in grade 12. Last year she wanted to become an astrophysicist. Now, and the year before that, she wanted to become a politician. Now she's not quite sure what she wants to do." And I said, "Do you have any advice for me as a dad? Because I want the best for her." And she said to me, "Tell her to give it time." She said, so she's an 11, and so she has 1.5 years, 1 3/4 years left. And I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, she's got time. It's a long time."
Yeah, I think that's pretty good advice.
So the 3 Cs, fantastic. And then, like I said, some people come with shopping lists. Some people, like a person this morning, wanted to understand why it is we don't offer work from home. And I explained the idea. Well, first of all, like we said in the last podcast, 60% of business owners that businesses, small to medium, small businesses. So what's small business? That's classified under like 50 million, I think, turnover. That experience a cyber incident, go out of business within 6 months. 60%, that's crazy. And also spoke about the fact that as a director, I'm one of the directors of Affordable Staff. I'm criminally and civilly liable for any data breaches or anything that occur if they're deemed as being irresponsible. And that means that I could go to jail, and that also means that I could personally have to pay lots of money if I am found to have been negligent in my activities. And the client would have that as well. I mean, there was that client, there was Harcourts that had that service provider years ago. It cost them $1 million. Well, it cost them a lot of money to have to go through that exercise. So I think that the risk is higher. That person was working from home. The Salesforce hack that happened a month or so ago, or maybe 2 months, that was with Qantas. That was from a person working from home.
And I quote, "Using my own dodgy internet," I think was what the quote or the statement was from the offshore team member.
That's just how it works. So so I was explaining that I am being selfish. I don't want to place myself at that risk. And they said, "Oh, we understand, and that's not actually being selfish." And I was like, "Well,
No, it's definitely not selfish. I also think that we're in such a fortunate position. I love talking about what I think is one of our greatest strengths, and that's the maturity we have in this space and how far ahead we are within the business model that we have in being able to look at how we can improve from where we are. We're not in the initial foundational stages that some other businesses are, so we're able to really reflect on how do we do things better.
yes,
And to be in a position where, touch wood, I need something wood, we've got a very squeaky clean and quite a pristine reputation. And I'd really like to represent that from here on in.
yes,
It makes talking about affordable staff and supporting our clients very easy.
yeah, certainly." And I think that the flip side of the working from home is, in the 11 years that we've had a physical office and 18, almost 19 years in business, we've experienced people working from home at the very, very beginning. We've experienced working from an office. There's a reason we have employees that have been with us for 10 plus years. And it's because of the environment that we have, that we've established within the office. It's because of the culture that we've established within the office. And it's also that when you're here, if there's an issue with your computer, right, you're not offline for 2-3 days or 1 day or however long it takes for them to replace the computer, if they're replacing it, or if you go buy your own computer and reset everything up. You don't have that. It's immediate support. So I mean, that's good for the client, right? But it's also good for the team member. It means that they don't have to go through any anxiety if they have that issue. Constant power. So they don't have to go through anxiety thinking they're going to experience brownouts, which brownouts are such a common thing within the Philippines. Anyone that's ever had any activity within the Philippines, or has had a business in the Philippines, or has dealings within the Philippines, you say you're within the Philippines and they're going, "Oh, how's brownouts?" Because it's such a common thing. You don't have to go through the additional expense of generators running in the background. I mean, we have our own generator which switches on. It's like automatic switch, ATS.
On-site doctors and nurses.
All that support that you have, and just being able to be around and hang out with your friends and hang out with people. Working from home is really isolating. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter how much support you give a person. If you're a good sized business and everyone's working from home, you just cannot beat the thing about being face to face.
And I suppose it's one of those things that until you don't have it, I don't think you'd realise how much of an impact that has. I know we've talked before about a team member that I still connect with, a lot of the support structure are still very good friends, and she's a lovely human, and she connects with us every time we're here. And she has mentioned that disconnect, the engagement piece, she didn't realise how much she enjoyed it, and how much she valued it until it wasn't here. I might tell you a little story. During the week, I had a new connection from a potential client, and I jumped into this Teams meeting, and I was met with 2 team members. It took me about 2.5 seconds to realise that these were 2 offshore team members working from home, because you could tell from their background. And I straight away said, "Right, hi, how can I help?" They had been engaged by their client to connect with us to see if they could join the affordable staff team. And I asked them why. They were working for another BPO, remote offshore, and you could almost feel the emotion that they were sharing with us, and saying that I just don't have the support. I then had them share that they actually know a staff member that works for us, and they were reaching out to see if they could join us because of the engagement piece, the support. And they mentioned that if they ever raise their hand, so to speak, and say, "I've got a challenge, I've got a problem," whether it be work-related or not, and there was radio silence. They did tell me that when they first were approaching the opportunity as a potential employee, that they were all over them with all responses, and everything was rosy, and then that has very quickly and gradually dropped off. I felt quite sad for them, especially physically being here during this podcast. You can feel that family vibe, and that we talked before about having a loyalty or dedication to a coffee shop. Even if their coffee is 50% of the time it's good and 50% it's not. If you go in and someone says, "Oh, David, same as yesterday," not that you drink coffee, but you have that loyalty to them.
Yes.
And I certainly feel that here. But that was another example where I literally disconnected from the call after spending a bit of time talking with them, feeling very assured about what we have here, and that it is right for the people, and in turn, thinking about Richard Branson, if you treat your staff well, then your clients will be looked after naturally.
Yes,
and
that's
I
right.
think we've got it right here.
Yeah, and look, if I play devil's advocate, I know that if a person is feeling unhappy, for whatever reason it could be, and a lot of the times, in my opinion, the disengagement occurs when the person is working from home, where they start to feel isolated. I've mentioned this in previous podcasts. 96% of Filipinos are active on Facebook. They see what their friends are doing. They're working from home. They're separated. They're isolated. Now, in my opinion, even if the company is contacting them like every day, they're doing a huddle. Hey, yeah, it's all exciting, and then every afternoon they're doing a huddle. Hey, it's all exciting. You've got that gap in between, and it's when you're sitting there and you're looking at your mates. They're out having fun, and there you are stuck behind a computer, working from home, isolated, separated, away from everyone. Sure, you're saving money on transport. Sure, this blah blah blah, all that stuff, but at the end of the day, you're not around people.
No.
And the Filipinos are very social people. They love, like, at breakfast we talk about lunch, at lunch we talk about dinner, and then we talk about where we're going to go, who we're going to meet up with, how we're going to hang out together, and all that sort of stuff. And it's just that it's a thing. It's a constant thing that I understand here. I normally eat when I'm having my meetings. It's incredibly rude here to do that, because you're not stopping and appreciating the food for what it is. The food is a sustenance. It's feeding your body. It's helping you to survive. You need to stop and appreciate it and celebrate it. But I don't have time. and it's taken me a period of time to understand, for the team to understand. I believe they're just like, okay, it's all right, David's eating. He just sees it as fuel. He doesn't see it as, he doesn't see it, like he doesn't sit there and celebrate it the same way. But I appreciate that, right? Because I get it. I get it and I understand it. And I think that, like I said, there's that separation and isolation that you will experience, that I think you don't get here. I mean, mental health on the rise. Mental health issues are on the rise in the Philippines. They're in a good place, in my opinion. As in, historically, you're allowed to smile, and if you're unhappy, you smile. Whereas now there's more recognition that's happening. It's like, oh, okay, so you're not okay. Let's look at that, and let's look at how it is we can help you, bringing you to a place. And I was talking to someone about this. As long as you're not, in my opinion, you're not bringing a person to a place where they're sitting in a down state, that you are helping them to acknowledge, to then lead them to a place where they are becoming happy, or they're becoming content, or they're looking at ways in which they're like, okay, I'm good now. Let's scuff off the dirt, and let's keep going.
Have a strategy of support.
Yeah, a strategy of support, but guided support, because I think that's critical. So I believe that Philippines moving in a good way in that respect. Yet there's still a lot of work to be done, and I believe, knowing when everyone was working from home when we were in COVID, I believe that that's one of the key causes, is people are working from home and they are isolated.
I remember one of the stats we drew from that time, when we compared, as we were transitioning out of COVID, we compared our work from home versus office. And I think it was at 43% increased productivity for the office location employee.
Yes.
Yeah, and that would come from not just being within the office, but from the engagement piece, and them feeling focused and supported, and all of the buzz that you naturally feel here, especially, as you say, especially if it's before lunchtime and they know if they get all this done, they can go off and have something to eat. Yeah,
and I mean, that 43%, people have said, oh, but what does that use to measure? And I said it's keystrokes and mouse movements. And they said, oh yeah, but that's not a real measure. And in a small volume of people, there'd be inconsistency. But we have a large volume of people. So across a large volume, statistically, it would even out, and it would show you trends. And that's the trend that it did show, is that they're 43% less effective when they're working from home than when they're working in the office. So I think that's an important consideration to remember. But I think that there's one other point that I wanted to mention, actually, and it's been sitting in the back of my mind, just around the work from home model. If you are looking at engaging and working people to work from home, a lot of the new BPOs that are popping up, because the entry point is so easy, they're not employing people, they're engaging contractors. So they're going in there. The BPO themselves, they're not setting up a company, they're not setting up a structure. they're based, let's say they're based in Australia, and then they're contracting people, they're sending the money to pay them, etc., etc. That's Fair Work nightmare straight away. And that's a concern that I'm mentioning because it's been sitting in the back of my mind, and I'm aware through circumstances that that there are quite a few BPOs that are setting themselves up that way. So I just wanted to mention that. It's been sitting in the back of my head since we've been talking here, to mention that if you are engaging, make sure that they're not contractors, because if they're contractors, that means that they can be deemed as an Australian employee, meaning that you will have to treat them as an Australian employee, and we know what that's like from a cost and from a logistics perspective. There was that case, which I've mentioned previously. I created a LinkedIn post about it. You can search it. There's lots of easy to find if you were to look Fair Work Philippine Worker. It'll come up and it'll talk about it. It's been discussed a lot. But I just want to highlight that again, our structure, company here in the Philippines, employed by the company in the Philippines, should be all entitlements are paid from the Philippines. Everything happens here in the Philippines. We've invested in a barrister who sat down and had a look at our structure and our situation, has given us like the tick. In law, nothing certain because you can always set a precedent, but he's given us a tick saying the way that you've structured yourself is the best practice way that I would do it.
And to protect our clients. I suppose one thing, I think from all of the content that I have read, it's very much focused around the Australian government and how they're looking at trying to pursue this.
Yes.
I think in recent conversations we've been talking about from a Philippines government perspective and how they would be supporting this angle because of the tax that they would be not receiving.
Yes, that's a very, very good point. If you are a contractor, you're not obliged to disclose your income. And obviously, if you're an employee, we automatically take those mandated amounts and we pay them to the necessary parties. So yes, you are correct. I have no doubt that the Philippines government like our structure more than they like the contractor structure, because it means that that I question where the money's going sometimes, the same way in any government, where the money's going. And I know that the people that are behind the camera are nodding with me around where spending is going in relation to the government. But yes, I am aware that the Philippines as a country do prefer our structure because we naturally do disclose and declare everything that we engage in, and especially with the employees. But certainly, I think as we wrap up along this very interesting conversation we've had today, aside from the working from home thing, probably my key takeaway is make sure that they're not contracting and get proof, because I know personally I wouldn't want to be stuck in a situation where suddenly I have a offshore employee that's being recognised as an Australian employee, classified under their clerk's award, and all the ramifications that's going to happen as a byproduct of that. And then just all the other risks that are associated with you engaging thinking that you're an engaging company that's a contractor, that suddenly you've engaged a Australian employee that's sitting offshore.
I think if we think about some of the conversations we've been having recently with, let's call them governing bodies of franchises, they're asking more appropriate questions, and I think that they're in tune with the government or the relevant parties will be looking for a really good example of why not to do this. I think it's just a matter of time where there's going to be quite a big and vocal case around someone being found as direct employing the Philippines.
Yes. And
matter of time.
The last thing to mention around that as well, which is really interesting, is there's an increase around Australian businesses wanting to gain an understanding of the Modern Slavery Act and our engagement and how it is we're a part of that. We have HR. Two of the HR managers are on a board which is directly associated with DOLE, the Department of Labour and Employment, which is actually DOLE looks at things like people being paid well, their conditions, etc., etc. We get audited every year. It's high fives all around every time they come, including from the auditor because he's so impressed, or she. It was a he this time. And we are making sure that we're structuring ourselves, which is compliant. And we're actually going through a modern slavery certification at the moment, so we'll be recognised around our working conditions and how we treat our team.
And for our audience, whether watching or listening, DOLE is like the Australian Fair Work?
Yeah, like the Australian Fair Work. And there are a lot of instances where people go to DOLE because they haven't been paid or they've been underpaid and that type of stuff. And, they're there for good reason, because fortunately or unfortunately, Filipinos are great people and they can be taken advantage of. Yeah. So thank you, Lisa. This has been a good chat.
It has been, and good luck to everybody that's participating in Osball.
Yes, good luck to
Third
everyone
season.
participating in Osball.
Looking forward to seeing and sharing some of that content. No participating this time, David?
No participating in anything. Apparently, I'm more important uninjured.
That would be very preferable.
Yes, and go well with the client visit. I will not be here. I'm leaving early because I've got other things to do.
Sounds wonderful.
Yes. So as we wrap up.
Thank you very much to our listeners, to our audience. Happy birthday, David. Here's to another 12 months.
Oh, yes. Happy first anniversary. Here's to 19 more years so we can compete with the age of our business. That'd be 36. 38 years. Well, no pressure.
I'm thinking about doctors and Botox.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody. And look forward to catching up with you in the next podcast.